So one of the most beneficial things that you can learn to do, and that I've learned to do, is to stop worrying all the time and to just accept whatever life brings you. Now, the reason this is so challenging is because we often rely on future outcomes for our happiness. We rely on some future moment or something in the future to fulfill us or to make us happy. And we have an immense amount of fear in our mind that if this thing doesn't happen, if things don't go our way, if they don't go as planned, that we're going to be miserable and we're going to be unhappy. Or maybe we're unhappy now and we think that this thing is going to make things better. You come to realize that when you can learn to just surrender to the universe, which I know sounds a little corny, a little mystical. However, it's not. Surrendering to the universe just means to surrender to just this moment, surrender to whatever's happening right here and now, and to let go of everything else. Now, this doesn't mean to just sit here like a potato and do nothing. It still means to plan for the future, prepare for the future, but don't do it with your mind stuck in the future, causing a bunch of worry and distress for yourself, a bunch of fear and anxiety. Do that now. You can still think about the future, but do it here in a space of presence. So when I first learned about like surrendering to the universe and surrendering to the, accepting the universe and surrendering to God or whatever you want to call it, when I first got into philosophy and spirituality, I was very skeptical of it, and it sounded like a bunch of bullshit. It kind of sounded like hope, but I realized I was just misunderstanding it. It doesn't necessarily mean, as I said, that you just sit here and do nothing. It means that you stop worrying so much about the outcome of things. And I know that this is easier said than done, and I know most people probably know this, but you have to practice this over a very long period of time. It's something that I personally still struggle with to this day. I still have worry and anxiety. But the thing that I do is I remember, or I realize now, that I think back to all of the times that I worried in life and that I, was so fearful of things, and just all the times that I had so much anxiety when I was young, teenager, 20s. And I think back to all those times and I remind myself, what's my track record for getting through hard situations? It's pretty good, right? I mean, I'm sitting here making this video and I don't even remember most of the things that I worried about in the past, because most of them were not that bad. Like, all of the things that I worried the most about didn't end up actually being as bad as I thought they were going to be. Most of the bad situations I faced in life came very unexpectedly. I didn't have time to worry about it. I didn't have time to be fearful about it. And I suggest you do the same right now. Just think back to all the times that you worried about things, all the times that maybe you wanted things to go a certain way and it didn't. I mean, was anything ever that bad? That's how I kind of prove to myself that it's all in the mind. And the other thing is too, it's like, we think we know what's best for us. We think we want things to go a certain way. We want this job. We want this person. But we can never truthfully know what's best for us. Sometimes you might go on a job interview and they reject you and you're so distressed and miserable because you thought you wanted this job so badly. But how do you actually know? You never had it. So how do you know you want something that you've never had before, that you've never experienced? The same thing with people. If you have your eyes set on somebody, maybe you think you really love somebody and they're not reciprocating that love back to you, how do you know that you're going to be happy with this person? In most of those cases where we get very obsessed with somebody, we really think we want them. If you actually get them, then you're going to have all of this worry and this stress about trying to maintain them. Or how do you know that being with that person is even going to make you happy or fulfill you in the way that you want? Getting off track a bit here, but the idea is to just always remember that nothing in this present moment is ever really that bad. Most of the things you worry about are worry and fear about things that are going to happen in the future, all just an imagination created by the mind. Is this present moment ever really that bad? Is anything really that bad ever happening in what you're experiencing right here and now? And this is what all of the great philosophers, all of the great spiritual masters and sages, and all very intelligent teachings have always taught us, is that right here and now is absolutely perfect. It's all we really have, and you can always come back to this moment. If you're familiar with Thich Nhat Hanh, he was a monk. I really have a lot of respect for that man. He's passed away now. He always spoke about this, and it's a very simple teaching, is to just always come back to this present moment. Every time you feel your mind going to the past, going to the future, always bring it back to right now, and you'll come to see that nothing bad is ever really happening right here and now. And the reason that this might sound like nonsense is because you haven't practiced it enough. You don't really sit down and meditate often enough, because if you start meditating daily on a regular basis, your mind will sort of get conditioned to only really be focused on the present moment, and you'll have less intrusive thoughts about the past, less worrying about the future. This is why meditation is so powerful and is pretty much suggested in any any respected spiritual philosophy. Just try to understand that whatever does happen, I know this sounds cliche, whatever does happen is meant to happen for whatever reason. And even if you don't believe me, just understand that as long as your immediate health or safety isn't threatened, all outcomes of any situation, whatever happens to you, it's really all the same. It's your mind that has a perception of what you think you want, or what's supposed to be good, or what's supposed to be bad. But everything is really all the same. It's our mind that makes the distinction between what's good and what's bad based on our our past experiences, our upbringing. I've come to find that no matter what happens, there's a lesson in everything. There's an experience in everything. There's value to be gained, to be learned in whatever happens. Even if a situation was something that was awful, now you know you don't like that. Maybe you chose a career path that you hated. Okay, well now you know that you don't like being a pharmacist, and now you can put it to side and you don't have to worry about it anymore. But you never will know until you try, until you let things unfold the way that they're supposed to. Another thing too, when you start practicing this idea of surrender to the moment, you'll be more prepared to handle situations when they come to you. Because if you're the type of person who's all over the place in your mind, always worrying about the future, always worrying about just constant, a lot of worry, a lot of stuck in your head, you're not going to be connected with your intuition and be able to actually handle situations the right way. You'll make better decisions when you're more grounded in presence. That's the beautiful part of it. It's the person who's always worrying all the time. Do you really think that they're going to make good decisions? Do you think that they're really going to live a fulfilling life? No, they're going to constantly let their fear and their worry just take over, make decisions for them, make stupid decisions, say stupid things, just be riddled with anxiety all the time, instead of just learning to accept whatever is happening right now. And you also might think with surrender, this is one thing that I was confused about too. It's like, all right, well, what if somebody tries to come up and fight you? Are you supposed to just sit there and surrender to that? No, it's not about just sitting there and doing nothing. It's about being able to surrender to the fact that, okay, this is what's happening now, and now let me handle this situation the best that I possibly can. The idea is to not just sit and do nothing. It doesn't mean surrender as to just bow down and, okay, I'll just surrender to everything. It's to just accept. I would say acceptance is probably a better word. It's just to accept that what comes to you and deal with that situation as it comes in a state of presence. It's happening right here and now. Deal with it when it's right in front of you.